Good evening, everyone. It's a tremendous schus for Beis Medrash Heichal HaTorah of Hollywood, Florida, to have the schus of hosting Rav Noach Orlowek Shlita. We want to thank Yeshivas Taras Chaim Taras Emes for bringing Rabbi Orlowek to South Florida so we can all gain from his Torah and from his wisdom. We want to thank the Levine, the Sipper, the Ziskut families for sponsoring this year. Le'ili Nishmas, Jeanette Levine, who I was not zoicha to know her. I came here after. So my only view of her is through her peiros, the fruits that she left behind, and seeing the children, primarily Josh, who I'm Baruch Shem very close with, speaks leaps and bounds about her. We have the Jeanette Levine wedding gemach, bridal gemach, which is an amazing thing that Rabbi and Joanna's men have put together. Its fame goes well beyond South Florida. Many people I've spoken to in Hollywood who have known her, the old-timers, speak with her with such high praise. There's one person, every time he goes to Eretz Yisrael, he stops by her kever. It's not a family member, it's a person who was mushpa, who was affected by her. She seemed to have been a powerhouse, an unbelievable koyach, a koyach of Mashiach. She was able to pull people in, an amazing makariv. And it's a schus for us to have this year, Le'ilui Nishmasa, and us coming together to hear the words of Torah from Rav Orlowek should be an ilu for Neshama, as well as through her, the Ma'asim Tovim of her children, of her grandchildren. Rabbi Bauman was unable to be here tonight, he's under the weather, so I have the schus of introducing my Shachin Tovim, Nasan Yeshai Schwartz, to say a few words.
Thank you, Rabbi Shrak. Thank you to Beis Medrash Heichal HaTorah for hosting the shir tonight, allowing the yeshiva to have this event. I didn't get to know Mrs. Levine, as Rabbi Shrak didn't, but the concept of sending to our yeshiva back when the Levine kids were little was something that was not like it is today. Today, Baruch Shem, we have hundreds of kids from Hollywood who come to North Miami Beach every day to our yeshiva. Back then, I think there were just a few families, and the Levines really were one of the exceptions, and they decided, I guess, for the chinuch of their kids, this is what they wanted to do, and really you see it in their kids, and Baruch Shem, there's many grandchildren now in the yeshiva, and it's really a big schus for Mrs. Levine, and we thank the Levines and the Ziskwit and Sipper families for sponsoring tonight and for welcoming Rabbi Orlowek and bringing him into to Hollywood, and the yeshiva we really are very privileged to bring in Rabbi Orlowek. Rabbi Orlowek is a mashkiach of Yeshiva Torah Or in Eretz Yisrael. He's written many books. He's really, around the world, well known for his chinuch insight. Just the last few days, people heard about the shir, and I got texts from people all over the country saying, is it going to be live streamed? We heard there's a shir, we want to watch it. Baruch Hashem, people really want to hear from Rabbi Orlowek, and it's really a schus that we were able to bring Rabbi Orlowek to South Florida, and specifically to Hollywood tonight, and we thank Rabbi Orlowek for his...
Okay, we did that already. The subject that I was asked to speak about is how to help children cope with anxiety. And I will speak about that subject. Okay? I began to prepare for this subject at my granddaughter's wedding. And I have a daughter there, Chani, who I ran some ideas behind and what I was planning on talking about at the wedding. Okay? Because a person needs to think about what they're going to say before they say it. It's a sense of respect to the people who are coming here. And I know even though Julius Caesar said, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, this is not prepared, by the way. okay? Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. But the truth is, it's lend me your minds and lend me your hearts. So you are coming here tonight. I assume you had something else you could have done also. So I have to think about it. I have to think about it and rethink about it. And I usually have time to prepare bullet points, especially when I speak on Shabbos. I want to give out bullet points because I'm a right-wing reactionary fanatic rabbi and I don't let people take notes on Shabbos. So, and hopefully I'll be saying enough that, so now, tonight for the first time, I started these speaking tours in 1994. The first time I have written out what I prepared, yeah. Of course, more than it says here, I'm going to be saying, yeah. And if it's correct, so copies will be made of this. I expected about 10 people to be here. Now, that's not low self-esteem, yeah? It's just, I thought I was coming to some private house and there'd be people sitting around, that's what I thought. So, I hope to make enough copies. I want to begin with several introductory ideas. So I do want to walk around a little bit, not around, just, you know. And I just realized if I do that, it won't be good. So I have to put it in. The last time I was in Miami, I carry heavy carry-ons because airplane flights are for work. And I was going down the escalator, and the balance wasn't right, and I fell on the escalator. It's the second time I did it in LAX airport also, but over there at least it's a really long escalator. Yeah, save time to get up again. But anyway, they stopped the escalator, and Baruch Hashem, and then the cop said, "Do you want any medical help?" No, I just want to see what other government. It seems they passed on what was going on. I'm very easy to identify. Yeah? And Holland says to me, "Shalom." Yeah. And in Miami airport, the LO flight stuff, it's written all over me. Fine. So when I was leaving the airport, a policeman stopped me. "Did you have a confrontation with anyone?" So I said, "Yes, with Isaac Newton." And he laughed and said, "Go." Okay, he's somebody, he's always right. Right? So that's why this is in my pocket, because just, you know. There are two basic ideas that I want to present to you before we begin our subject, but it's germane to the subject. To those of you who are the younger generation, germane means somewhat related to the subject. Okay? The first is that, you know, we say, Hashem hu ha-Elokim. Yud Kei Vav Kei is Elokim. Yud Kei Vav Kei is Loshen Yochid. It's in singular. Elokim is in plural. Don't make a mistake to say that there's more than one God, Elokim. No, Yud Kei Vav Kei, He is Elokim. It's all one. Just there are different nuances of how Hashem is expressed in the Bria. There's din, there's mercy, there's divine justice. And the example that I give is there's a thing called a prism. A prism takes white light in on one side and comes out with different colors on the other side. There's blue, yellow, red, yeah. I was teaching in a seminary, and there was a student there who wasn't my student, but she had trouble with God. So they asked me to meet her to see does she have any psychological issues. Because she's having trouble with faith. Is there any... So it turns out that this young lady had religious, I don't like that word, a God-fearing woman who her life was determined by what does Hashem want. And she loved her mother very much. And she had a father who was very good and she loved him very much. And her father was an atheist. So when I heard that, I pointed at something on the wall and I said, what color is that? And she said, green. So I said, no, it's not. It's blue and yellow together. This girl's mixed up. She has very good reason to be an atheist and very good reason to be attached to Rabbi Shalom. So a prism is all kinds of different colors. Okay? White light is truth. The word for truth in Hebrew is emet, or emes. La verdad. Okay? Emes is always in singular. Coming out on the other side, the word chaim is life. Life is always in the plural. That means truth can be expressed in different situations, in a different way, and they're both correct. And I'll give you just a couple of examples, and then we'll get to the second point. Do you know how many, I got a question recently, why is there so much machlekes in Klal Yisrael? I'm not talking about political. No, that's a different story. The country I live in, Baruch Hashem, we all get along really well in foreign airports. Why? Because in foreign airports we are focusing on what brings us together. In the country where I'm proud to live, we're focusing on what pulls us apart. Which, maybe we shouldn't do that. But this is not a political statement, it's not my subject tonight. But all I'm trying to say is, we've had a long history. I got recently asked the question, so much machlekes, like what are they arguing over? Details of halacha. I think the biggest one is the Tammany Sefer Torah, Suadaka. Is it an aleph or is it with a hay? Yeah? No one disagrees on anything that's really very basic to Judaism. Nothing. All of these disagreements, because we love Torah so much, every detail matters. You go into yeshiva beis medrash, people are screaming at each other. The answer is, it's important to me. Okay? You'll find different parts of the world over a very long and difficult exile, we developed different ways of approaching things. You know why? Because we needed to develop different ways. I'll give you a very simple, mundane example. The Sephardim in the old country dressed in white. The Ashkenazim in the old country, now I call America the old country, okay? Okay, but in the old country, yeah, they dressed black. Why? The answer is, do you know taxis in Israel have to be white? It's against the law to have a taxi, it's not white. Most people do not have black cars. Why? Because black absorbs heat. And white deflects heat. If you live in Morocco, so you have to be out of your mind to put on a black frock, like you're asking for trouble. In Lithuania, yeah, if you put on, I want to keep it, not deflect it. Now, they came to Israel, so I heard from Rav Volba, Rav Shlomo Volba Zatzal, why is there so much disagreement in Israel? You walk down, his example, Malchei Yisrael Street. So you begin Malchei Yisrael Street, starts with Ger, and then goes to Parat Yosef, and then goes to Chai Olam, and then goes to Hebron. Now, without going into all the details of what each are different in essence from each other, it's one block. They were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away from each other in Europe and Africa. Now we're together, the differences start rubbing. Rav Miller Zechain Levach, Rabbi Victor Miller said, "V'kabetzenu yachad me'aba kanfei sa'aretz." You gather us together from the four corners of the earth. Kabetzenu means to gather us, and yachad means together. See, it's not a repetition. If you gathered us, then we're together, aren't we? Says no. You could be in one place geographically, but still not be together. Kabetzenu means now we're together in one place, but yachad. So we say, Rabbi, please, kabetzenu, geographically in one place, but we should be biyachad. Okay, it's not a given. I'll give you one historical example, and this is directly related to the subject. There is a place in Europe called Berlin. There is a place in Asia called Yerushalayim. There was a very, 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 very great Jew in Berlin called Rabbi Hildesheimer. He was a Gadol b'Yisrael. He was a Yerushalayim. He was a great Jew. And he sponsored opening a trade school in Jerusalem. In Yerushalayim, they didn't do that. Without getting into right or wrong, it's not a subject, and you can't judge history anyway. Anyone who doesn't live in a certain generation can't judge that generation. People came to America and South Africa in the 1900s, 1910s. Do you know how to be abnormal to keep Shabbos? Do you know that? Had to be pushing not normal. We can't judge anyone. I have a Vort. There's only one divine computer, and I don't know how to run it. We don't judge anybody about anything. Now, if you're going to marry someone, go into business with them, live next door to them, then you have to make, educated guess. But judge? Never. Never judge. Who do you think you are? Okay? And there are reams of examples of this that I could tell you, but we still have to go. We still have to move. So Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, who was the head, the Gadol of the old Yishuv in Yerushalayim, sent a letter to Rabbi Hildesheimer saying, the Rabbanim in Berlin know what's good for Berlin. The Rabbanim in Jerusalem know what's good for Jerusalem. We don't do this here without getting into who's right and who's wrong and Eilav El Divrei Elokim Chaim. They both had their place and understood the place that they lived in. So we need to know. Times change. In Chinuch, which is the subject tonight, it's his intro, but you have to know where I'm coming from. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky wrote a letter, and he said, all mitzvahs, did you do the mitzvah or didn't you do the mitzvah, depends on a certain formula. Yeah? If you eat a kazayas of matzah within 20 minutes, it was the wrong way to do it. Every mitzvah has a way to do things. There's a formula. If you didn't do the formula, you didn't do the mitzvah. Chinuch, education, it's not that there's a formula, it's the end result. Did you do the mitzvah or not? You could be a great teacher, and a child comes out hating Torah, you didn't do the mitzvah. So therefore, every child, every time requires an assessment of what do I do? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to carry out chinuch? And he gives examples of this, and there are many examples. We know every place needs its approach. The Gedolei Yisrael, those who understand Torah, should be the ones who lead a generation. No one can just say, well, I think things are different, let's do things differently. That's a different story. But the reality is, no, ik wil wat met Anxieties, maar zij kunnen met Anxieties, maar zij, ik heb dus lief, ik kan toch zeggen, dat is wat ik wil richting. How did that go over? Yeah. Now, some people understand, yo sé que hablo esto en español, pero language muy fácil, muy bonita. 100%. But maybe there's 20, 30 people here who understood that Yiddish was zero. Yeah? So therefore, in this room, I'm supposed to speak to you in English. Okay? Every place needs its approach. They're all true. My goal has to be the same. My goal is I want them to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want them to have a successful life. That's the first point that I'm making. Because we're dealing with how to make a child today, in 2021, not be anxious. How to help him not be anxious. Okay? And he got good reason to be anxious, and we'll go into it. There were worse times. I know someone who grew up in Amsterdam between 1940 and 1945. He was about 7 or 8 years old then. Now that was a bad place to be growing up as a Jew in Amsterdam. So if this nightmare of the boogeyman could come and get you at any time was true. It was true. So he had reason to be anxious also. Okay? I don't know if we're holding over there. So I want to give you two changes that I believe have changed in chinuch and in relationships. Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon said, spare the rod, spoil the child. Don't you ever hit a child today. Ever, 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 never, ever. Okay, is that clear? If that sounds extreme to you, I'll say it again. You don't hit children today. One reason you don't hit children, besides the fact that it's illegal, okay, which is a reason, by the way. I'm going to give you an example of how things, a couple came to speak to me. What was the problem? First they gave me the background. The kid hit his father with a long pole. Hit his father. So what did the father do? He hit the kid with his pole back. So I thought, for sure that's what I'm coming to talk to me about, right? No, that wasn't the problem. And the mother said, he hit the kid on the neck. So the mother was going to take him to the doctor. And the kid says, I don't need it. In Israel, if you would have done that, it would have been, you know what penitentiary means? It's a place where you do penitence. Yeah? Theoretically. It's a place to do tshuva. That's where he would have gone. Or social workers would come and take the kids away. Yeah? Okay? And sometimes they're right. Okay? But the sense of, no, I'm okay. This wasn't the problem. The problem was that after the father hit his kid, he sat down and ate a calm breakfast. That bothered the kid. My father just hit me, and it doesn't bother him. He just sits down to eat breakfast. By the way, not our subject, but kids have to feel that you care about them. This kid got the message, my father doesn't care about me. He hit me and then eat a calm breakfast. I mean, he hit me in cold blood. He wasn't in a fit of anger. That bothered him. We're not good enough parents today to hit kids, and kids don't get hit today because the times have changed. We just don't hit kids. If you think I'm being extreme, you should listen to me anyway. I knew so. I knew so. The other is about not telling the truth. It's brought down that in order to keep the peace, you're allowed to lie. I decided not to scream. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? The most important element in a relationship that has an emotional component is trust. You never, ever, ever, ever lie to your child or to your wife. Why? Because they will catch you. They're going to catch you. Yeah? And you break trust, it's not worth it. Yeah, I always tell a story. One of my daughters, we call her Teely. So her older brother, who was 2 years older than her, he was 7 and she was 5. Anyone had older brothers, any of the women who had older brothers, so their function is to torture you, basically. To tease you, to watch you. So he told her she was adopted. Okay. So the kid ran into the room, threw herself on her bed, and started yelling about the family she just lost. Such a trauma. So I sat down next to her, and I said to her, I explained to her, you're our 10th child, why would we adopt you? It did not help. Do not try and expect to get anything by reasoning with a 5-year-old. It doesn't help. That's not her language. Yeah? Talk to her in logic. Not her language. So I said to her, I promise you you're not adopted. And that was the end of it. She never heard her father say promise, and she never did since then. Promise is like breaking the glass to take out a fire extinguisher. You never say promise. And there's no such word. So today, we are not good enough spouses and not good enough parents to get away with it. Okay? We're just not. Besides the fact that, in England, years ago, I saw a sign telling kids which public office to call in case their parents hit them. Okay? Yeah. It's a different world. Okay? In chinuch, a different world matters. Okay? So this is the basis of what I'm going to be talking to you about tonight, about anxiety. How do you deal with anxiety? So the very first thing, a home has to be a safe place. A couple came to see me about a house that they wanted to buy, and everything was perfect. The price, the kivunim, I said, the directions of the house, what floor was up. And then the woman said, there are 2 people here who are familiar with the street, but I don't want the prices to go down over there. She said, I'm afraid that a sniper on the old city wall can shoot into my living room. It never happened before, it didn't happen since then. Are you crazy or something? No! I said, you can't live there. A house that's not safe is not a house. It's not a house which has a problem, it's not a house. A house is a safe place. That's part of never lying to a child. Okay? If I have a safe place where I can be, so then I can deal with anxiety. Anxiety is not a disease. Anxiety is a reaction to a reality. Yosef Da'as, Yosef Machlev. The more intelligence you got, the more likely you're going to have an ache. And be worried. And be worried. Accept where a kid is. Accept them. Validate that that's what they feel. I tell people that if your 3-year-old says there's a monster under the couch, I'm terrified. I would be terrified also if there's a monster under the couch. So you could look under the couch. Don't say there's no monster there. Because I'm basically telling you, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't ever say that to a kid, especially a kid. Because if my parent tells me often enough that I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to stop talking. Who likes to, be deprecated? Deprecated means cheapened, okay? I don't see any monster under the couch. Because I tell people, I don't see any monster, but any monster in this house I can take care of. So if the kid trusts you, so they'll calm down. So at the wedding, my daughter Chani said to me, she's studying all kinds of things. There's a machlokes psychologist in Yerushalayim if I should study psychology or not. Is it better for me or worse for me? So there are things I don't know and I won't answer. And then needs training. But other things just... So she said to me, and she's studying this stuff, yeah? So she said to me, ask the child, how long is it? How big are its teeth? What color eyes does it have? What shape is it? You didn't even know this. I had this conversation with Chani at the wedding, yeah? Because if you get the kid to talk about its eyes and its teeth and how big, so now I'm describing what I, and she may realize, hey, wait a minute, maybe never saw anything. Because details and talking has to do with the brain. So the brain, this is what Dessel says. Dessel says, means that when I have a worry in my heart, it's emotion, it's feeling, it's heat. If you, words were once defined, there's a secular idea, once defined as frozen ideas. Writing a book is very, very frightening, because once you've written it, Rabbi Salanta said, not everything that you think of should you say, and not everything that you say should you write, and not everything that you write should you publish. Because once it's out there, it's done. Gam asoy sforim ein case. Because there are a lot of books, and you can't take it back. But it's a frozen idea. So when I take words, and this is, I assume, one of the bases of psychology, talk to me about it. Talk to me about it. So when a kid, that's what Chani told me at the wedding, to add that. But the point over here is, people have to feel that they can speak. The worst diseases are the ones that don't talk to you. I was asked about a 12-year-old who just didn't talk. She didn't talk. She didn't answer, she didn't respond. So I said, go ask her what to buy for dessert for Shabbos. And she answered them. I don't have Ruach HaKodesh, I'm not a genius, and I'm not always right. What was the pshat? These are, it made sense, like Ella mentioned, my dear Watson, that these are wonderful parents, loving parents, as any South African would be, okay? And they had a whole lot of kids, and there were 6. Now this youngest one, we know what to do for her. We know what's right. We know what's correct, yeah? So they didn't consult her. So if what I say doesn't matter, I will not talk. That's normal. So if you'll go home and ask her what to buy for dessert, oh, maybe for that they'll listen to me. Oh, that's something else. Okay? Okay. And she answered them. And they closed her up again, but that's not all stories have happy endings. Yeah? Okay. People have feelings, people have emotions. Anxiety is a sign of intelligence, because I know my anxiety is right, it's not right, but I'm anxious. My anxiety is real. In 1991, our older children were afraid of Scud missiles. That was the beginning of the first Gulf War, and they were afraid of Scud missiles. Now that's a sign of intelligence. Of course, you hear what a Scud missile can do, and so you're afraid. So at that time, my wife was studying for a degree under a very special woman who just passed away a few months ago, Mary DeVar, in Canada. And she asked her, what should we do? Our kids are worried. So you know what she said? Go tell them that you'll take care of them. Now, I can't stop a Scud missile on Mars. I know my wife probably can't either. Yeah? I'll take care of you. It calmed them down completely. You have a safe harbor. Mother. What does the word mother mean? Aleph, Mem, Aim means mother. What's Aleph, Mem? So Rav Hutner Zatzal says, Aleph Mem is the first one I trusted. Without going to etymology and what a Mem is and what an Aleph is, because that's not our subject. But a mother is the first one who you put your trust in. A mother comes to you. A mother takes care of you. A mother cares about you. After that, if you have a mother, so then later on in life you can extend that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We call that Amen, Emunah. The nun in Hebrew, at the end of a verb, often means an extension of a previous idea or is repetitive. Rachamon, he's always merciful. Shakdon, he's always studious. Shakron, he's always lying. That's the nun. So Aleph Mem Nun means, Rav Hutner says this, first I trust in my mother and then I can trust God. Okay? This has to the whole question, you should let kids cry it out. Just let them cry it out, they'll get better. They'll stop crying after a few days. Right? I believe very strongly, you don't let young infants cry it out. It works. So heroin works also. All over the world, in Johannesburg they told me this, in Chicago, that mothers who let their kids cry it out, their kids grew up less confident people. In the same family, the ones that they let cry. So it's never too late, yeah? But don't let kids cry it out if you can help it. Yeah? If you get a nervous breakdown, so let the kid cry it out. Because it's more important for the child to have a mother who didn't have a nervous breakdown. Okay? Parents are a place of safety. This is why in child rearing, one of the most important things in a child's life is shalom bayis, matrimonial harmony. Because when it's either expressed or unexpressed anger and bitterness, I'm not sure which is worse. The simple child is when it's expressed, it's worse. But kids pick up things. And then it's ready, they can't even latch on to what's going on here. Make sure that you get along. I tell people, men getting married, for the first 6 years of a child's life, your chiv chinuch is to make sure your wife is happy. Because he is a prisoner of his mother. Prisoner is not meant negatively. He's in her domain. Now, after that, after 6 years old, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky Shlita told me the most famous word in the Ksuba is afarnes. I will support financially. The most important word is oikir. I'm going to give covet to her. I'm going to honor her. If you want children who have less anxiety, so then make sure your house is a happy, secure place. The only thing I can prescribe without going to jail is Mozart. Tonight, your child was playing Mozart. And I say, I hope it's playing Mozart. It's beautiful. I'm flexible with Vivaldi, Tchaikovsky, Brahms, yeah. Parts of Bach, yeah. Not all of Bach, yeah. It's calming. Yeah, Strauss, Johann Strauss. So he's an Austrian guy, he probably was an anti-Semite. But not Wagner, not Richard Wagner. Okay? In Israel, don't let him play. They don't let him play his music. Okay? It should be a happy place. Okay. Chani told me at the wedding that another story. Yeah, this you don't know. Yeah? That Chani hit her head against the refrigerator, the freezer door, which was open. So Hadassah Eliza, her daughter, said to her, Mommy, it's okay to cry. I mean, this kid went, I lose track. I think she's 5, but I don't know. Yeah? Okay, how should I know? People ask me how many grandchildren I have. I say, I don't know. It's true, I don't know. Baruch Hashem, I don't know. Anyway, it's okay to cry. It's not a sign of weakness to cry. If you can cry when something hurts. I'm not talking about sobbing hysterically. It's okay to cry. How about we all want our children to listen to us. But listening can be conceived as a part of it's a weakness in a kid's world, because the kid lives in the relative world. If I listen, that means I'm weak. But you know something? If you listen to them, listen doesn't mean obey. Listen means, yes, if they make a suggestion, try and carry it out if you can. But, you know, I tell in Mechon Yaakov, I tell them this class is a democracy until I decide it's not. Okay? That's the democracy. It's a democracy until I decide it's not. If I listen to my child and remember what the child said, I am giving that child two messages. One is, I respect you. You should not stand up for your children when they come into the room. At least not yet. Okay? But respect is, I remember what you said. When you listen to someone, you're giving them your heart and your mind. That's respect. Kids deserve that kind of respect also, but the point I'm making, it's no longer a weakness to do that because mommy does it. It's not a weakness anymore. So a child has much more opportunity not to be anxious when they all talk. And you can listen to them and validate, yes, that sounds very scary. And they can calm down. Now I'm going to go into something which might be a bit unpopular, but that's too bad. I'm leaving town on Sunday anyway. Okay? I'll segue it into, I remember on Soroskin Street about 40 years ago, some fellow who had good intentions but not much brains, he wanted people to give charity to families on that street, and he said, on this street, I think 30 children have been orphaned. X number of mothers have died, and the children, and they need money. He was collecting money. But he doesn't realize that children are reading that sign saying, well, what if that happens to me? I mean, abissal seichel, do you know what that means? Yeah? Today, we have a thing called media. I'll tell you a short ma'aseh. A very great Jew, who was our Shabbos guest 2 weeks ago, asked me about reading newspapers. So I said to him, there's a problem with newspapers. They make you numb to tzaros, numb to pain. Because newspapers only print pretty much bad news, because that's what sells newspapers. When things are going right, did you wake up this morning and say, wow, what an amazing day it is, I'm an American citizen? You get used to that. I was in St. Louis a number of years ago. They made a kiddush. 2 Russians made a kiddush when they became American citizens. I understand them. But things we have all the time, we don't appreciate. So what moves us? Bad news. So I said you become insensitive, to numb, to pain, to tragedy if you read newspapers. Now, I do, by the way, okay? But that's a different subject. You know, Thomas Jefferson was right. Thomas Jefferson said that he who does not read newspapers is uninformed, and he who does is misinformed. Okay, and that's true, because the newspaper has an agenda. If they're able to disguise the agenda, so then they, then they sort of, fooling you into believing it. So he went to ask him Shlomo Volba the same question. Can you read newspapers? So he said, how can I tell you not to do something I do myself? Oh, I'm being videoed. I was walking around. You should tell me. I'll be good. I don't know what the live stream is. It's a stream that's alive. I've heard the word the first time tonight. Can you release this problem, huh? Or if the thing can do anything anyway. The first time I was in a car, it was a Lexus, which had this GPS, I didn't call it that. Is that they had the street, you know, you saw a map of the street and they told you where to go. It was in Los Angeles. And I was telling them what to do. So he said, make a right, make a left. And I did make a left. And a few times, just don't listen to the GPS. And every single time, it said recalculating. If someone doesn't listen to you, don't get angry, just recalculate. It's mamish, it's a lesson. So Rav Wolbe said, when he heard that I had tainted, that I had claimed, that you should not read newspapers because it makes you inured, which means numb, unfeeling, yeah? To pain, he said, listen to Noach. He said it in Yiddish. Listen to him. If you're interested, there's a secular book which I read about 30 years ago. You can look it up in your your iPhone. Yeah? And it's amusing ourselves to death. He talks to you about, you have a television, a radio. There was just an earthquake in Haiti. And there's a 2-minute report, and then there's a jingle about toothpaste. And then all these stories is called entertainment. And if it wasn't entertainment, it would not get on the media. That sounds Roman to me. So we would not dare sit in a stadium and watch a lion eat a gladiator, but that's what's happening. Now, I'm not here to educate you. You came here, what was the title? Helping anxious children flourish. Yeah? Children who consistently hear about pain and suffering, it's like that guy in Soroska who wrote about how many kids and how many parents died this year, and we need to collect money for them. Kids should not be reading that. Now, there's a limit to how much you can protect a child. There's a whole question how much you protect and how much you expose beforehand. Different question. But if you expose your children to too much media in news, you are causing them anxiety today. Whether it's China or whether it's Iran. And these are, by the way, real reasons to be anxious. Okay? But there's a very big rule. A problem that you cannot solve is not your problem. Now, you can pray, which you can do and therefore you need to do. But I have no solution, personally, how to stop the Iranians from getting a nuclear bomb. And this is, like they say in New English, problemas. Okay? Or how to stop the Chinese from doing what they're doing and the Russians from coming down from Canada. You have no idea how many things could go wrong and how terrible it'll be. Kids should not be saying this. There's no benefit whatsoever. So I would, in the context of this subject, I have to put that in. Okay, I'm not a wild-eyed fanatic. Yeah? I think. Yeah? I asked the Mashgiach Zechariah Nevrach Hirschfeld in the Neviah about, he says, sometimes you need to read a newspaper. One day you may get up and leave the country because of it. I'm not telling you not to read newspapers. Yeah? But your children do not need to be exposed to this. I mean, especially on a daily basis. It's just not good for them. Newspapers, media, it's not good for them. And that's our subject. There's another point. The tefillin, Shal Rosh, have 4 places where the parchment is inserted. So the head has, its hearing and sight and smell and taste, each have its own portal, means its own gate. Yeah? Okay? That's in the head. There's one more sense, the sense of touch, which is the tefillin shel yad, which touches the heart, which is the seat of emotion. Touch is all over, so there's only one compartment for the parchment. The sense of touch touches our emotions. Children who are anxious, they need to be touched. Now, there are children who don't like to be touched. Respect that. Sometimes you need to find out why. My favorite question is why. After that, there's another question, is how. You can't ask how unless you know why. In Jerusalem, some years ago, there was a child for the first 3 grades, was flying really well, doing well in school. The 4th year, he dropped like a stone. Maybe it's the teacher, maybe it's the parents. No, it's important to find someone to blame. Yeah? That's sarcastic. Okay? You want a failed life, make sure there's always someone to blame. But they asked why, and they found out that this kid was deaf in one ear. For 3 years, his good ear was facing the teacher, because in Jerusalem, the classes are shaped like a chess. The 4th year, his bad ear. Okay? And that's the obvious example. There are many. The mind has separate portals. You know, each one of them, by the way, is a twin. The nostrils, the ears, the eyes, except for the mouth. And Shabbos said, everyone has a mate, a spouse, except for me. So Hashem said, I'll give you the mouth. Shabbos is a time of speaking, and a time of not what you don't speak about. Shabbos. But the place of feeling is touch. Children need to be held. So what? If they don't want to be held, so you need to check it out. Yeah? Maybe they have sensory issues. There are different things that you need to check out. Why? But most people, and we can talk about, 3-day-old people, they feel safe when they're touched and held properly. How to hold the baby, is you have to learn how to do that. How to hold the baby. You should be calm now. If it has gas or it's in pain, it's not going to help. But if you didn't think I was going to do this tonight. If you apply mild pressure to the abdomen and you hold his head and you sway back and forth calmly and happily, and you hum a tune, there's a good chance that kid's is going to quiet down. The kid's 3 days old. That's the heart. Its brain has not processing anything, but it has a heart. There's nothing wrong with touching children and hugging them and feeling them and being with them. A home is a safe place, and parents are the safest place in that place. So I want to sum up. I don't know what the time frame is. I'm willing to hear questions up to a point. I guess I don't know. See, I have, by the way, I have no stress in Chutz La'aretz. Why? Because I have no idea what I'm doing next. That's true. Yeah. Right? You see, I'm much less stressed out. Yeah. To sum up, the reason we need to give children tools for prevent anxiety and to deal with anxiety and respect themselves even though they're anxious, it's okay to be anxious. The reason we need to do this, because education is to prepare a child for life. There is anxiety in life. And I can bring more Bakaris to you, but it's late. Yeah? Anxiety is not a disease. Anxiety is a human feeling which is correct. This General Schwarzkopf in the Persian Gulf War said, a hero is somebody who's afraid but does it anyway. A fool is someone who just charges up the hill and he's a hero. He's an idiot. You're afraid, but you do it anyway. Anxiety is an emotion. emotions have their place, except my brain has to control it. I'm anxious about something. What am I anxious about? Can I evaluate it? And what should I do about it? That's very healthy. Do not squelch kids' anxiety. That it's a bad thing. Just like my granddaughter told her mother, it's okay to cry. She told her mother it's okay to cry. She must be a very good parent for a kid to feel safe enough to tell her mother, don't worry, it's okay to cry. And she's like, I'm not, she's 5 or 6 years, how old is that? That's, what?
She turned 6.
She turned 6. Okay, I got a resident expert. No emotion should be squelched. Emotions need to be channeled. Need to be channeled. Emotion is energy. Energy needs to be used. But you have to control it. Most things in life are good if you control it and bad if it controls you. Okay? So I hope we had some help tonight. And where's my boss? Noach, where is he? He's here? Mi jefe. ¿Dónde? What's what? Yeah? Sus preguntas es muy importante. Yeah, tell me. What? Are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I liked everything you said, that there is a problem about the media. All the kids today have phones. They all are on the internet. So there's no way to stop them from reading the newspapers.
Right.
Or stop them from looking at that phone.
So what do you need to
The
do?
kids today are on the internet, and they're also playing games on the internet. That's the reality.
Okay. So now the question, what do you do about it?
Yes.
Okay? I did mention that it's all over the place now, but I didn't mention what to do about it. Okay? Excellent. When you know a child sees these things, there are generations that are more tsanua, more, how do you say tsanua in English? More modest, yeah? And there are generations that are less modest, yeah? You get there first. Now, maybe here in the United States or in the Western world, when it talks about modesty, so maybe you have to talk to them about it when they're 7. It could be, yeah? But you have to get there first. Or the child should feel safe enough to be able to talk to you about it. Okay? This is very important. Now, thank you very much. You know, people talk about modesty. Modesty is not how long your sleeve is. The halach is how a person should be dressed. A male and a female. See this? This long black coat? Twice, priests came up to me to ask what my denomination is. Yeah, in Detroit airport, they asked me what, because I just a little bit of switch. Okay, I do actually, yeah. What's your denomination? I told him that, Rabbi, where do you live? I said, Jerusalem. He said, may the Lord bless you. So I didn't know who he meant by Lord. So I said, thank you. Out in Red Rock Canyon, outside of Las Vegas, a guy comes up to me. He's a priest. And he says to me, do you know Aaron Coughlin Lakewood? I almost fainted. If you'd answered up to Kseis's Kasha on the Yesivas, I would have been less surprised. Yeah? Why do priests dress like this? I'm sorry. Rav Miller, Zechet Tzadik Livrocha said, what's a frock? A frock is a long, black, loose coat. Black is not an interesting color. It doesn't attract attention. And I'm not saying black is not interesting. I'm saying that, it doesn't attract attention, okay? It's a boring color. I don't know what I'm allowed to say anymore. Okay? It's loose. It does not show the curvature of the body. It's long. It's very. What does it do? What does the frock do? It emphasizes your head, which is the real you. Tznius, modesty has to do I need to attract attention? Do I need you to look at me? It's a problem. So when society gets looser and looser and looser about many things, which is your question, it is taken a step further, your kid has to trust you enough to talk to you, or you could ask him or her. Now, if you know that some newest tragedy happened, it's okay for you to ask your child about how did you feel about it. During COVID, which I don't know if it's over or not over, yeah. So I spoke in Santiago by Zoom, and and in Manchester also. In Manchester, I told them, now, I'm not telling you should show your kids videos, okay? I'm not telling you to do that, but if you have that kind of technology, so I told them, show them films on the Battle of Britain. They lived in the underground. Underground means the public transportation, the subway, yeah? Santiago, they lived underground, these miners, for many, many, many weeks. See how people coped. And then talk to them about it. Discuss it. You listen. You heard some news. Let's talk about it. So yes, there is a lot what you can do, and eventually they will be able to do it by themselves. They won't need to every single time. But yes, they're exposed. You get there first, or make sure that you're a close second, but that feels safe enough to talk to you, and then you will lower their anxiety. That was the most important question of the night. Yes?
When you were speaking about touching the children, I'm assuming you were referring to parents. Could you address the same issue in schools?
You have to ask each principal. I'm not protecting myself. Yeah? You have to ask each principal how they go about this problem, this challenge, this issue. There's an example that generations have changed. Yeah, in the Lakewood Cheder, they don't let Rebbes touch kids. Do you know that touching is a tremendous, tremendous, powerful tool to be Makar of a child? Just, that's all. Can't do it anymore. It's true. It's a beautiful school, and and I know them now for many, many years. It's a well-run school. My son-in-law teaches there, but no, you can't touch kids anymore. I taught elementary school in 1975 plus. It was normal. He just walked over and gave a kid a glet on the hand. And he knew, it was encouraging. That's right. Times have changed. Anything else? Yes?
Thank you. I was just at the Torah Masar convention, so last Shabbos. There were a lot of American Gedolei Yisrael there, and I was close to spend Shabbos with them and hear a lot of ideas in Chinuch.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking about Lakewood, Rabbi Trink is famous, just loved them. And I heard...
I revered him in Mir Yeshiva. You have no idea who this man was. No idea. No idea. Yeah.
And I got to hear some stories and see some of the pairs there, and you're right, I don't know, but I heard Rav Aaron Feldman say on the other side, also there's a real strong place for discipline. He said parents are afraid to discipline their kids. Kids need to understand that there's authority. They need to understand that there's discipline and that there are consequences and responsibilities. That was his drasha. And they're both right. And I'm sitting in the middle of two mountains, and I'm trying to find the path to the Holy Land. So what's the right path? What's the balance? My
definition of a good question is both sides are right. The question is which is more right. Okay? Tonight was not, the subject wasn't discipline. I'll give you one. In order to discipline kids, you have to be disciplined yourself. Okay? I just said a mouthful. Okay? Discipline is for the benefit of the child, not the benefit of the parent. Now, it's true, sometimes the mother or father needs something, and that you have to put it in place. But most of the time, the discipline is for the benefit of the child, not the parent. Okay? I can't handle your screaming anymore, so he'll scream. If he'll get his way, he'll scream. You can't handle it anymore. I don't know what to tell you to do. Yeah? If you want me to answer the question, I'm not going to answer it, but I could explain each thought. But David Trenk, Zecher Tzadik Levrocha, was not treating people who were the sterling, successful products of the upbringing. Yeah? Therefore, he had to use things to balance things back, because these kids, what? Way out. That's what they needed. That's what they needed. Ravan is talking about in the healthy world, there's such a thing as discipline. And a child can't live in a world without discipline. They become anxious as anything. They can do anything I want. Do you know that children who were raised in homes where they were never disciplined, a higher percentage of them feel their parents didn't care about them? As long as it makes you happy, dear, huh? So, basically, one of the main messages we said tonight is that chinuch, there isn't a formula. Is how we began. Do this, this, and this, and this, and then it'll be fine. Every generation has its challenges. Okay? And it needs a different color of the same white light. Gedolei Yisrael, who have a Rebbe, who have a Messiah, who have Yireh Shamayim, etc., so they have a view of what to do. Will there be a machlokas, a difference of opinion? Yes, there are many different places where Jews are. Yeah? I saw during the time of the latest Israeli election, someone wrote, whoever doesn't vote is a Russia. Well, the Satmar Rav is Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. The Brisker Rav is Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. They don't vote. So all you're doing is teaching this kid to hate anyone who's not like him, which is at best stupid. Wait, you're a Russia if you don't vote? I understand. And if you eat rice on Pesach, you're a Machal. But the Sfardim eat rice. They're at least as kosher as we are. People have different Messiah. And we don't have a Sanhedrin. A very, very, very great Jew named Rav Nachman Bullman. Does that name mean anything? So he said the following words: it's a mistake to think there's a command post. We don't have a Sanhedrin. Yet we need Yireh Shamayim, we need people who know Torah, who are Gedolim. Yiftach b'darek, Yishmor b'darek. How big? But I want to finish on a different note. We have tremendous tests today. If I wanted to see a bad movie when I was 18, which was a while ago, okay, so I'd have to get on the subway in New York City, which was dangerous, and then go to Times Square, which was more dangerous, and then use my draft card to prove I was 18. And then I would have to pay. Oh, Hashem, I never did it. Today, if any of you have any havamina about any idea, any inkling that you can give your kids one of these loaded guns, you buy a book called Glow Kids, Glowkids. It's written by a Cypriot guy, and it will never give your kids these things unless you can't discipline them, or they live in a place where they have to have it, and you insist on living there. Okay, it's terrible, which is an understatement. Today, if you have a child who stays clean, modest, truthful. Do you know, someone spoke to me about 2 years ago, today, the younger generation doesn't understand what's immoral about paying someone to write your paper. I'm not plagiarizing anything. I can't steal a paper, but I can pay someone to write it for me. What's the problem? Things have changed. Things have changed. Okay? The word door means to go, there means to flow downhill. Okay? But you have people today who are not doing that. And they have everything at their disposal. It doesn't cost much, costs very little. Everyone's doing it. It's therefore okay. A person today who keeps his life in order in so many areas, not just one, he weighs a lot more. The Chavetz Chaim, if you went into Rodden into the street, you found mud and a few communists. They didn't have this nisayon of tznius. Today, where it's overwhelming, people are tzanua on both sides of the fence. They're tzanua. They will bring Mashiach. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not interested in how much, kamus, quantity. He's interested in quality. Do you know what that means? You know what these people are? It never happened in history that people had such nisyonis and tznius, which is the nisayon of Ador. Ador is, did you enjoy it? Did it taste good? Your child comes home from school, don't ask him, did you enjoy school today? What did you learn? What was good? What made you happy? Don't make the child feel that enjoyment is the definition of was it good or not. Of course you have to enjoy Torah. V'harevna is the only place where we ask for it to be sweet. But for a kid, that's together. That's the defining point. Was it a good day? Not did I enjoy it? No. The world, and that change in language amongst us is mirroring the entire world. Does it taste good? Does it taste good? Does it feel good? That's the arbiter, determinant of is it good or not? Oh no. Oh no. So, the fact that we have people who are dedicated to all these things and running and swimming upstream, these people have more. And now there's only one divine computer, I don't know how to run it. But we have a Kabbalah. Meir pam achas pitzar. It's more than 100 times without tzar. These people are standing in the service that never ever happened in history. Ad kedei kach in Bad Goyim. There's a school building in Borough Park where I grew up. Everyone's from Borough Park, right? Yeah? In that school building, it's on 14th Avenue or 15th Avenue, I think 15th Avenue, between 44th and 45th. A public school building. Of course, today it's a Chassidish cheder. On one side, on one block, it says boys entrance. On the other side, it says girls. Today, maybe it's illegal to make such a building. I don't know. Or it will be. That's what it was like in the non-Jewish world. And you're standing up against it. You have to love your kids and respect them and encourage them. And they will be the ones to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen.